You won't die. I promise. The Outlander saga continues as its eighth and final season is just around the corner. And yes, this time we will finally get answers to all the questions that have been building up over the past decade. So let's talk about it. What if the most heartbreaking loss in Outlander, the one that nearly tore Claire and Jamie apart, wasn't what it seemed? As Season 8 approaches, whispers of time travel, parallel timelines, and hidden truths are swirling again. And this time, the mystery centers around the daughter they were forced to grieve. The moment the Season 8 trailer dropped, fans started piecing together what might be the biggest twist the series has ever delivered. Faith could be alive. And not just in memory, not in dreams, but truly alive. In another time, in another place, or maybe even walking among them without them realizing it. Could Outlander be setting us up for the most impossible miracle? Because if it is, then everything Jamie's guilt, Claire's pain, the balance of time itself is about to unravel in the most emotional way possible. From the beginning, Faith Fraser represented everything that Outlander does best: love, loss, and the devastating cost of choices made in impossible times. Her death in Season 2 was a moment that shattered fans and changed Jamie and Claire forever. But now, as Season 8 prepares to close this long, emotional journey, it seems like that heartbreak might not be the end of Faith's story. The new trailer doesn't come right out and say it, but it doesn't have to. All the signs are there: a lingering look, a cryptic phrase, a shot of Claire staring into the distance like she's seeing someone she couldn't possibly see. That's all it takes for the theory to explode. Faith returns. Somehow, somewhere, and everything we thought was certain begins to fall apart. We know Outlander doesn't play by the rules. Time travel is not a subplot, it's part of the DNA of this world. People have disappeared through the stones. Families have been torn apart and stitched back together through the years. Timelines have folded in on themselves. So is it really that far-fetched to imagine that a baby thought lost could have been pulled into another reality? Or that some traveler might have intervened in a moment of tragedy? The trailer's tone is filled with sorrow and wonder, and fans are asking one terrifying, thrilling question: is this grief or is it foreshadowing? One line that haunts viewers comes from a voiceover, Jamie's voice. Broken but hopeful? Sometimes the heart remembers what the mind cannot understand. It's the kind of thing you brush off unless you've been paying attention. Unless you remember how often Jamie dreams of things before they happen. How his connection to Claire and their children runs deeper than logic. It's not confirmation, but it's enough to make you pause. Enough to make you wonder. Even more chilling is Claire's reaction in the trailer. We see her clutching something small in her hand, a necklace, maybe, or a ribbon. And her face isn't just filled with grief. It's awe. It's disbelief. It's as if, for a split second, she believes the impossible. And maybe, just maybe, it is possible. Maybe Roger and Brianna's work with the temporal equations and ancient passageways has uncovered something that opens the door just wide enough for one lost soul to step through. And if that's true, what happens next? Would Jamie and Claire dare to believe it? Or would the fear of losing her again keep them from opening that door? Faith's possible return doesn't just affect the present, it shatters the past. Because if she's alive, then the choices that define Jamie and Claire's journey are suddenly thrown into question. Was their grief necessary? Were their sacrifices in vain? Could someone guess Ottertooth or some unknown traveler have altered the course of events without them knowing? The questions don't stop. And neither does the hope. It's dangerous, yes. But Outlander has always been about love in the face of danger. And if there's even a sliver of a chance that Faith is alive, then that love is about to be tested more than ever before. There's something haunting about watching the Season 8 trailer again after hearing the theory that Faith could return. It's like looking at a familiar painting, only to notice new brushstrokes that change everything. And suddenly, it's clear, Outlander has been preparing us for this moment. The signs weren't loud or obvious. They were quiet, subtle, emotional, and now they're impossible to ignore. The second you open yourself to the idea that Faith might be alive, the trailer transforms into a map of secrets, pointing us to the unthinkable truth that's been hiding in plain sight. Let's start with the opening sequence. There's an image of Brianna holding her newborn daughter, softly humming the same lullaby Claire once sang to Faith. It's quick. It's tender. But the music carries weight. That lullaby, long associated with grief and memory, now seems to echo like a signal across time. Is this the writers planting a parallel? Or are they hinting at something deeper, like a thread of fate pulling generations together, bending time around shared blood? The camera lingers just a moment too long. And in that stillness, something stirs. It's almost as if the past is reaching forward, trying to be seen. Then there's Roger, flipping through one of the old time travel journals. And he freezes. We don't see what he's reading, but his face goes pale. What kind of entry could do that? A name? A date? Something that doesn't belong? Fans have zoomed in and slowed the clip down frame by frame, convinced they spotted something, maybe the name Faith scribbled among the records of temporal crossings. Is it wishful thinking? Possibly. But this is Outlander, and nothing gets placed by accident. There's also the strange moment between Claire and a mysterious young girl in the background of a village scene. She's never introduced, never speaks, but Claire watches her with a look that can only be described as haunted recognition. It could be nothing, a fleeting resemblance. But if Faith were alive, and if she were pulled through time or hidden away by someone with knowledge of the stones, wouldn't that be exactly how she might reappear? As a stranger who feels familiar, a child who shouldn't exist and yet somehow does. Even Lord John Grey, ever the skeptic and man of reason, seems shaken. In one of the later scenes, he tells Jamie, "Not all ghosts are dead." It's a chilling line, and no one knows exactly what he means by it. But it hangs in the air like prophecy. And when you think about what he knows, what he's seen, it's hard to believe it's just metaphor. This is a man who has been at the crossroads of history and fate, standing beside Jamie through the worst and best moments of his life. If Lord John is sensing something strange, then we should be paying attention. And then there's the final shot of the trailer, the one that left everyone silent. Claire, standing in the doorway of Lallybrook. Eyes wide, breath caught. She whispers one word, "You," before the screen fades to black. Who is she seeing? The obvious guesses flood the mind: Brianna, Jamie, Jenny. But none of them make her look like that. None of them turn her into a woman undone. That look, that voice, that question. It could only belong to someone long believed lost. Someone whose return would break her and heal her at the same time. Someone like Faith. Of course, it's possible all of this is misdirection. Outlander is known for it. But that's what makes this theory so dangerous and so powerful. Because it taps into something that has been buried in the heart of this story since Season 2. The what if? The wound that never healed. And just maybe, this final season is the moment we find out that pain and time don't always have the final word. Let's talk about time travel. Not just as a plot device, but as a force that Outlander has wielded like a blade. Carving holes through history. Rewriting lives. Stitching together heartbreak and hope. If there's even the slightest chance that Faith is alive, it's through the stones. Through the rip in time that Claire first fell through. And suddenly, the impossible begins to make sense. Because time in Outlander doesn't heal all wounds. It opens them. Here's the wild theory that's been gaining traction. What if, in that moment of devastating grief at Faith's stillbirth, something changed? What if someone, a time traveler, a stranger, or even one of the druids intervened? What if Faith didn't die, but was taken? Maybe her death was faked, her body hidden, and her life preserved in secret. It sounds outrageous, doesn't it? But ask yourself this: how many impossible things has this show already made real? Claire traveled through time. Brianna and Roger followed. Jimmy heard the stones. Even Mandy showed signs of the gift. So why not Faith? There's also the idea that Faith wasn't saved in that moment, but in another one entirely. Perhaps a version of her from an alternate timeline survived. We've seen how time travel creates echoes, loops, and consequences that stretch across generations. What if, in another thread of reality, Jaime never left Claire? What if she was given the care and support she needed, and Faith lived? And now, in Season 8, that version of Faith is somehow crossing over, drawn toward her mother like gravity. It would be the most devastating twist of all, to meet the daughter you lost, but no, she was never meant to exist in this version of time. Then comes the question of the stones themselves. We know not everyone can travel. It takes a certain resonance, a sound only some can hear. Could Faith have inherited that gift? Claire had it. Brianna had it. Jimmy, Mandy, and maybe Faith too. If someone knew this, they could have used it. Perhaps Gillis Duncan or another rogue traveler from the Comte Saint-Germain circle had a reason to steal her away, to raise her elsewhere, to use her bloodline. There's always been something sinister in the way time travelers manipulate history. And Faith, born of two powerful lineages, would be irresistible to them. And here's where it gets even darker. If Faith is alive, and if she's been traveling or hidden, then who raised her? Where has she been? Did she know who she was? Did she grow up with visions, dreams, or memories that didn't make sense? Has she been looking for her family this whole time? The idea that Claire and James' daughter has been wandering through time alone, unaware of the love she was stolen from, is enough to shatter you. And if she does find her way back, what kind of woman will she be? Roger and Brianna might be the key to unlocking all of this. Their research into the stones, their understanding of timelines, has already surpassed Claire's. Roger, especially, he's been obsessed with the ripple effects of time. He knows how one small change can shift everything. And if he finds proof of Faith's existence, if he finds a record, a diary entry, even a name that shouldn't be there, he'll stop at nothing to bring her home. This isn't just history anymore. It's family. But here's the danger and the heartbreak. If Faith returns, whether as a child or a woman, she won't come back without a cost. The rules of time travel have always demanded a price. Someone always suffers. Someone always gets left behind. And if the timeline wasn't meant to hold Faith, if her presence changes something critical, what happens to the rest of the Frasers? What happens to Claire? To Jaime? To history itself? There's something strange happening behind the scenes of Outlander Season 8, and if you've been paying close attention, you've probably felt it too. The interviews. The cast reactions. The moments when someone almost says too much and then pulls back. It's all adding up to something huge, something the actors know but can't quite say. And when it comes to Faith possibly returning, let's start with Catriona Balfe. In a recent press interview, she was asked about what it was like revisiting some of Claire's darkest memories. Instead of brushing it off, she paused, not just politely, not just professionally, but emotionally. She said, "Some wounds never heal. You just learn how to live with them. But sometimes, the past doesn't stay buried." That's not just a vague comment about grief. That's a deliberate tease. Claire's past is Faith. And if the writers are bringing that trauma back to the surface in Season 8, there's only one reason, because that chapter isn't closed. Not yet. And then there's Sam Heughan. During the cast's wrap celebration, someone shouted a question from the crowd. "What's Jaime's biggest regret?" Sam laughed, then turned completely serious. Not being there when Claire needed him most, he said, "No hesitation. No elaboration. Just that one moment. That one choice that has haunted Jaime for years." And the room went quiet because everyone knew exactly what he meant. Faith. He didn't say it out loud, but he didn't have to, and maybe that's the point. Maybe Season 8 isn't just about redemption or closure. Maybe it's about rewriting that moment entirely. Even Sophie Skelton and Richard Rankin have been unusually careful with their words when asked about time travel in Season 8. Sophie gave a cryptic smile and said, "Let's just say it's not always linear. Sometimes things come back around in ways you never expect." And Richard, who's always been more grounded about the sci-fi aspects, actually leaned in and said, "The timelines, they're getting more complicated. The rules don't apply the way they used to." That's not just set up for time travel, that's a warning. Something's gonna break, and it might be the rules of reality itself. But the biggest clue may not have come from an actor. It may have come from a leak. A now-deleted casting call appeared online months ago, searching for a female character, early 20s, emotionally complex, must resemble the lead actress. Fans immediately connected the dots. A new time traveler? Or Faith? Someone born in 1744 would be around 20 if pulled forward in time or from another timeline entirely. The resemblance note wasn't random. It was intentional. Because if Faith is coming back, she can't just be anyone. She has to carry Claire in her eyes, Jaime in her fire, and a lifetime of unanswered questions in her soul. The showrunners have also been suspiciously evasive when discussing the emotional core of Season 8. Ronald D. Moore hinted, "We always said this was a love story through time." But what happens when time strikes back? That's a loaded statement. Time doesn't just pass in Outlander, it punishes, tempts, and steals. And now, it might be about to return something it once took, a daughter. So many moments over the years have quietly laid the groundwork for this. Claire hearing a baby cry in the wind. Jaime dreaming of a child with red hair. Faith's name appearing in unexpected ways, whispered in scenes, engraved in memory. We dismiss them as poetic echoes, symbols of grief. But what if they were more? What if Season 8 is finally pulling those threads together and revealing the truth we were never meant to see? We're closer than ever to an answer, but the question that remains is this. What will Claire and Jaime do if Faith stands before them real, alive, and possibly returned? The emotional fallout would be unimaginable, and not just for them, but for the very fabric of the story we've been following since the beginning. If Faith does return in Outlander Season 8, then we are no longer just dealing with a story about time travel or history or love. We're looking at something much bigger, something that could rewrite everything we thought we knew about Jaime and Claire, about grief, about fate itself. This isn't just a twist. This is a reckoning. The kind that turns legends into something painfully, beautifully human. Because think about it, how do you begin to process the return of a child you lost? How do you hold on to joy when your entire identity was built on the weight of that loss? For Claire, it would be the deepest emotional fracture imaginable. She's carried that pain for decades, through wars, through oceans, through centuries. The very core of her strength is rooted in what she survived after Faith's death. But now, what if that pain wasn't the end of Faith's story, only the beginning? And Jaime? He's never forgiven himself for not being there, for leaving Claire when she needed him most. He's tried to make peace with it, tried to move forward, but that kind of guilt settles deep in your bones. It shapes every decision, every doubt. The return of Faith would shatter him in awe, in terror, in hope. Because how do you face a miracle when all you've ever known is that miracles don't come without a cost? This is what Outlander does best. It doesn't give you easy answers. It gives you impossible choices. And if Faith truly is alive, whether through time travel, alternate timelines, or some other unexplainable force, then Jaime and Claire will have to face the hardest question of all. Do they accept the gift or fear the consequences? There's also the ripple effect this will have on the rest of the characters. Brianna, who's lived her entire life as the only child, how does she reconcile suddenly having an older sister who never got to grow up? What does that do to her identity? Her place in the Fraser family? And Roger, he's already crossed so many boundaries in time. Would he be willing to risk it all again to help bring Faith fully back into the timeline? Lord John, Gay, Fergus, Marsali, everyone connected to the Frasers will feel the shockwave. Because this isn't just about one girl returning. It's about the past bleeding into the present. It's about memory becoming flesh. In the final moments of the series, this revelation could be the one that binds or breaks the entire family. What about the historical implications? If Faith somehow exists in the current timeline, who is she? What name does she go by? Was she raised by someone else? Is she hiding, being hunted, or protected by another version of the Frasers? Is she aware of who she really is, or will Jaime and Claire have to prove their love to her all over again? The emotional stakes are limitless because Outlander has always asked one simple question: what would you risk for love? As we head into the final season, it's clear the writers are building to something explosive. They've brought us full circle, from Claire's first trip through the stones to a final journey that could bring everything home. The ending won't just be about battles, politics, or even romance. It'll be about healing, about finding light in the darkest corners of grief, about faith in every sense of the word. Faith might return as a woman with questions, or as a presence that changes everything without ever speaking a word. But one thing's for sure, she will not be a footnote. Her existence, if confirmed, will rewrite the destiny of the Frasers. Because you can't lose something so precious and then get it back without the world shifting underneath your feet. So when Outlander Season 8 finally arrives in late 2025, brace yourself. This isn't just a final chapter. It's a resurrection. And whether it ends in joy, sorrow, or something in between, one thing is certain: the return of faith will test every character to their core.